In this next part of section 7.3, we're going to practice multiplying binomial radical expressions. And you're probably used to doing this. We are going to use FOIL as our strategy, just like you always do when you multiply binomials. But we're going to use our knowledge of radical expressions to notice any differences. So when we're going to multiply the first part, 3 times 5 gives us 15. Then according to FOIL, we're going to multiply the outside parts, in this case 3 times negative 3 root 3. So if I do 3 times negative 3 root 3, sometimes it helps to think of it as if I were multiplying 3 times negative 3x. Because in both cases, the only thing that actually multiplies together is the 3 times the negative 3. The variable and radical would both stay the same. So 3 times negative 3 gives me negative 9 root 3, just like 3 times negative 3 would give me negative 9x. So, back to our problem, 3 times negative root 3 gives me negative 9 root 3. Then the I in FOIL tells us to look at the innermost terms, in this case 2 root 3 and 5. When we multiply them together, it will be similar to the last one. We multiply the 5 times a positive 2, which gives us a positive 10, and we have to bring the root 3 with it. Finally, in FOIL, we will do the last two terms. 2 root 3 times negative 3 root 3. And in this case, you have to remember to multiply coefficients by each other. So 2 times negative 3 gives us negative 6, and then you multiply the roots together. And root 3 times root 3, of course it's going to give us the root of 9, but we know that the root of 9 equals 3. So whenever you multiply a root by itself, remember you're going to get that whole number without the root. So root 3 times root 3 is going to give us 3. So I'm just going to write it there. Now, order of operations, when we clean things up, before we can add or subtract like terms, I need to multiply that out. So now I'm just going to bring everything down. 15 minus 9 root 3 plus 10 root 3. And then I have to do my negative 6 times 3, which is negative 18. Now I'm looking for like terms. I can see that I have like terms in 15 and negative 18 because those are whole numbers. 15 minus 18 will give me a negative 3. I also have like terms because I have like radicals here. I have negative 9 root 3 and 10 root 3. And just like we learned earlier in 7.3, if they have the same index, which in this case we're getting the square root, and they have the same radicand, which is 3, then we can combine them. So all we have to do is negative 9 plus 10, negative 9 root 3 plus 10 root 3. That would give us 1 root 3. You don't need to write the 1. You could just write it as negative 3 plus root 3, and it would still work. So if we look at example 7, we're going to follow the exact same steps. I'm going to do it all in one color. 5 times 5 gives me 25. 5 times 3 root 2, so I'm multiplying the 5 times the 3 to get 15, and then we bring along the root 2. Then on the inside, again, 5 times negative 3 root 2. So 5 times negative 3 makes negative 15 root 2. And then I multiply the last two terms. I have to multiply the negative 3 times the positive 3, which gives me negative 9. And I multiply the root of 2 times the root of 2, which gives me just 2. Some students at this point might know that's negative 18 in their head and write that out. That would be okay. Now I'm going to go through and see what operations I need to do before I combine like terms, and I have to do my multiplication. So I bring down 25 plus 15 root 2 minus 15 root 2 minus 18. Again, looking for like terms here. I know that I have 25 and negative 18, so 25 minus 18 gives me 7. The other thing I'm looking for is like radicals, and in this case, positive 15 root 2 and negative 15 root 2. Well, positive 15 root 2 minus 15 root 2 leaves us with 0, so this is our final answer. But this middle term here, these two terms dropped out. And if you look back at the problem, that makes sense because these two numbers were conjugates. And we're going to learn more about that in the next section.